us or enabling us to all of these students from across the state who are sitting out there to either be digital marketeers or digital content consumers also. I mean, because if the second part is not there, then the first part is not there, right? So I think all of us have agreed to be some sort of contributor to the whole ecosystem of digital marketing, and we are here. So in a way, you have all taken that social media summit that the city is going to witness, right? In terms of the role of digital marketing, social media, content creation for enabling more of brands and enhancing brands. So that's the whole point. So when I first heard about this whole event that's happening and the kind of audience we're expecting, I was just trying to understand what's the role, how is it going to be and all. And I happened to stumble upon an unfortunate news today morning, which said in some state there has been some IT raids that happened on some of the content creators, some of the digital marketeers basically. And this is something very new coming across for the first time. And what's the reason? Why is it happening in terms of it? And that's when the whole context or the root for why this happened is also because not the fact that the delta or the number of people these content creators or digital marketers are reaching out to, but the depth or the kind of content that is being produced and the tools that are being used. So that's when I first figured out that when it was told what's going to be the role of digital marketing and social media, the dynamic changes that it has taken up and how it is going and how the government is also going to perceive this whole concept of digital marketing is something that I'd like to quickly and briefly also focus upon. So my name is Prannay Kumar. I head the partnerships and government innovation at Telangana State Innovation Cell, which is an initiative of the IT Department of State Government to promote innovation and entrepreneurship across the state of Telangana, which I mean is the 33 districts of Telangana. In itself, when you say that we are here building the culture of innovation, which is our mandate, it is a very communication, social media, content intensive approach in itself as to, I mean, when I'm sitting here in Hyderabad at T-Hub, trying to communicate and tell people what innovation is out there in some tribal village in Adilabad district, right? As to how are people going to perceive. So very, very quick example as to how it started off back then for us from a government perspective and also somebody who's been into creating content is when we actually called out and said the entire state, we shared a WhatsApp number telling that if you are an innovator, if you've done something creative in your space and you're trying to solve a problem, you can share us the details. And the response has been great because one of the first immediate calls that we've received from some remote village in one of the districts in Telangana, they called and said is, yes, is this TSIC government? We are so-and-so, we are a family of 4. We also need the inverter, that the scheme that the government has announced. So the term innovator has been perceived as inverter by the audience out there. And that's the set of audience, or that's the kind of audience that we are looking at. Sir, maagu inverter kavali sir, mem nalguram unnam ikkada maaku eppudu istaru ani cheppi etla apply cheyali. So what we're trying to understand, what I'm trying to put across over here is, we probably were conscious of the delta aspect of it. When I meant the delta aspect of it, which is the first step in content creation or social media, is the number of people that we'd like to reach, right? So the first and foremost thing is to see what are the different set of demographical differences, geographical differences that you're tapping into and the kind of audience that you're looking at. Because we didn't anticipate people who, we didn't anticipate farmers or we didn't anticipate unemployed youth, grandfathers in villages to perceive it. So the delta that we're trying to see was completely different. And that's when we realized that this is a huge role, and the presence of audience in social media today, what we think is not necessarily just the youngsters under the age of 35, which makes up to 65% of India's, India's population who's on social media right now. So it's very, very different. So our first take back or something that we'd like to mention from our end in terms of content creation or in terms of content consuming or for anybody digital marketing is to look at the whole concept of delta. When we meant delta again is the number of people, quantitative aspect of it, and also the different set of demographics that you're out there reaching out to in terms of conveying your message. That's something that we calculate or evaluate ourselves in terms of looking at what the role of digital marketing, looking at content communication. Yes, that was all going great, and in 2018-19, a lot of that was just probably the beginning of a more streamlined and more traffic of influencers or digital marketeers or social media influencing marketing and communication was just began at that point of time. So it was all taking up. Also because just the fact that a lot of innovations and startups are also coming in that point of time. So that's what happened. And we were all great, all was going great, Delta was being calculated and all. Eventually what happened was in digital marketing, we didn't anticipate as an organization, as an individual, all of us knew that, but what we didn't anticipate is the different types of tools through which the content is being generated, or the different types of content creating mechanisms that were going on, right? And why did it, I mean, it took so long for even traditional newspapers and news channels also to get into the whole ecosystem of social media. I mean, initially you would never find all of these people out there, but right now you can see that most of the fastest way of communication, most of the content is consumed by all of us is only through even from the newspapers, is through the social media aspect of it. The kind of I mean, it could be the concept of reels, or it could be the concept of short formats and all. So we've realized that the depth of any content that is going out there has to be in the format of different types of content, that different ways of how you're creating the same content to ensure that it has got its own way of navigating to different set of people too. So that's what we are looking at in terms of digital marketing and social media summit, which is the depth part of it. Depth, the amount of content that you're communicating outside as to how much are you doing it, is something that also looks at your engaging, and that also looks at your amount of duration that anybody is closely watching you or would want to watch you. So that's the second part of what we realized about the social media consumption, digital marketing of it. While both of these are directly proportional, when you have delta and depth, the number of people you're reaching and the types of amount of content that you're putting out, the most important aspect is a lot of times why we've seen a lot of digital marketing startups also closing down and everything, is because they aged very well. They did really, really great in delta and depth, but the most important point that they've realized lately was the longevity part of it. Longevity is, today I'm sitting here and I'm putting it outside, I'm looking at so many number of subscribers, that's something that I'm reaching, but I'm necessarily not focusing on how do I engage, or how do I make it more longer or more sustainable, right? The content that I'm putting now today, how do I make it more sustainable? That's the most important point that a lot of us, or a lot of organizations, or a lot of companies have also missed out. Individual creators as well as the startups who are into digital marketing, the longevity part of it. And this is where I think our experience while promoting innovation and entrepreneurship was in terms of more coming up with a long-term campaigns, that you say, a long-term ways of making more partners, making more collaborations come into the place, or opening doors for more collaborations, only because tomorrow if the organization or the individual is not present in the organization who started, but the program that was started by the person should not leave or should not end with the exit of the person, right? And that's how you look at the longevity part of your whole digital marketing firm, or you're looking at your content that you create and everything. So the longevity part is largely looked at the content that you create, or how long would you want the content, or how long would you want the information to sustain and ensure that it reaches. So that's the longevity part. So this is directly again proportional to the second part of it, which is the depth part of it. So today what at TSIC, because that's something that we've been doing as an experiences at government, our biggest strength, or at our biggest evaluation is the amount of people that we're reaching out to in terms of giving out this information, right? So that's the biggest evaluation metric that we have. So what we are doing over here today is to take or leverage the strength of the communities that are existing out there, not just within the network or within the city, but also out there in different districts, different ways the communities are existing out. So that is one. So identifying those collaborations and partners who are in the space of similar mindset or similar sector, what it does it to you is, there are uncharted spaces that an organization would not, organization or as an individual you can't get into because of the limited resources that you have, or because of the human resource or the network that you have. So these collaborations that all these you make and partnerships would only enable to increase your delta and reach people beyond what you are usually, or what you as an individual organization or a person can do. So that's something that we've been doing. And one fine example that probably I think would add more value or example is just the quick campaign that we're doing called Intenta Innovator, which is basically innovator in every household, or Ghar Ghar Mein Innovator. So the idea is, I'll tell you very clearly, is when we launched this program, we got a backlash saying that how can you enforce people to become innovators? Right, was the first question that we received. I mean, this is something very innate for people to come directly, right? You cannot enforce people to become innovators. But then that, because we were not really conscious of the communication that is being perceived out there. This is the feedback that we've received, and said what we realized, and we said, ki, we are not looking at enforcing people at becoming innovators, but we're only trying to aspire to see an innovator in every household of Telangana. So that's the change that we looked at, right? We're just towards aspiring. Now, what happens when you change this whole perspective is that if I, along with my sister, is there, and my sister is an innovator, she's trying to build something, right? I might not innately have within me to innovate something. But because I know the importance, or I was told about innovation in more creative way, in a different way, I know I can respect that and I can acknowledge what the effort is being put in by the sister, right? I can support. Now that's what we are looking at. There are two set of people that we realized out there. There are people who create, and there are people who support and enable those creators. Now these are the two set of people that we want to communicate and tell them about innovation to this campaign. And what we're doing with this campaign is, one aspect of it is a two-step flow theory. This is something that we learn in a communication and a digital marketing aspect is, you've got a topmost body who take an initiative. So like all of us, say you're a founder, you are an initiator and you've initiated something. You identify your first set of ambassadors who further have a network of people who they can reach out to, or people who consistently listen to those people. That's your first step, and you communicate and you create your ambassadors or hubs, and then you make them speak to all of, and you make them share this information to all of these. So this is a two-step flow theory that usually we all follow. And right now, we are also witnessing this in a lot of digital marketing startups out there sitting in Hyderabad. We've spoken to a lot of them, and we try to understand the kind of approaches that they're taking. And I mean, and you see a lot of, I think, India doesn't have any automation for influencer marketing also, influencer communication, right? So you manually go and speak to another person, try to understand, do you have anybody who's got a network? So there are technologies coming in to automate the whole process of, digital content creators and the whole process of influencer marketing and everything. So which gives you an understanding of the audience that different set of people are connected to, and that's a set of people that you look at. So Intenta Innovator, what we do is, one, at a state level, we launch this and we say, this is a number that we do. And the reason why we rolled out a WhatsApp number, not a Google form, is, the reason again I'm telling this point is to only understand from an audience perspective. The audience that we are reaching out to are sitting out there somewhere in an afternoon in a farmland, right? Somewhere they're doing agriculture, or someone is just in a homemaker in a kitchen who's trying to sort things out. So that's the set of audience that we're trying to reach out to. Now, if I'm throwing out a Google form, I really don't want to intimidate all such audiences that, oh, this is not for us. This is for somebody else who probably are more educated, who are more mature to look at it, right? And with that, we're actually negating almost 70% of our audience with that. And we just said, no, we cannot afford to do that. And we said, we'll just flip the question and say that, instead of creating a solution, let's find out if somebody already created a solution and try to replicate it and see what are the best practices. And they said, let's roll out a number. Let's give it out to people, make it mass, right? And that's the moment in 2019 when we realized that we've cracked the code of mass marketing or mass acceptance to certain programs or certain products as such. And since then, it's just a WhatsApp number that has been rolled out where we're trying to scout innovators from all of these people just through a WhatsApp number. So that's the idea. And how did we go into the villages, out districts out there is through, we've identified a lot of community, just like something like an EDAM. There are out there communities being built across Telangana in Tier 2 and Tier 3. Now, these are students who necessarily didn't have the ecosystem that all of us are enjoying in Hyderabad. These are people coming out there from different districts. They don't necessarily enjoy such ecosystems. So when they don't have the privilege or enjoy the environment, they instead create ecosystems, or they instead create communities, right? And these are the set of people that we identified, which today are around 70 to 80 individuals across districts, who individually are connected to 100 to 200 people out there now. So that is the level, that is a set of, that is a set of spokes that we created in different districts to get this information passed out. Now, the reason, again, the context to why I brought this example is to just bring in an understanding that, one, until and unless as a digital marketing aspirant or a digital content consumer, if I or we don't leave us appetite to learn and know things, then you're narrowing down your scope of improvement, right? So, and if you know that there is out there somebody, even today, I'll probably say ki, if there are 200 people sitting over here and 199 people understand, I should still be aware of the fact there will be those 1 or 2 people who still know that they want to find out something more than what, or they don't know why they're here, or they have to know more, right? So you should always, so one thing we've realized is we should always be aware of the fact that wherever you go, there's this one person or there's this 2 people who are still yet to get this information correct, as simple. Now, if we are not leaving that appetite, then we're actually not innovating in the whole, scope of digital marketing or content creating and social media. And which is why I think today all these concepts like reels, shorts, or even explainers that you see, right? I mean, look at a newspaper like Indian Express. They've got a social media page, but very recently they've started something called Indian Express Explainers, a page that exclusively explains you the most complex topics also in the most engaging manner in an explainer format. Now, if you're not, while you're innovating the content, but if you're not innovating in the process of delivering the content, I think we are going to be more lethargic, and then we are narrowing down our whole scope. So what I'd like to leave you all with is, one, tomorrow if you're getting into the digital marketing, always, if you're getting into it all, one, change the lens and see it more from a storytelling perspective. Look at all the startups, the current startups that are coming from the digital marketing and all of it, and try and analyze what they're naming their startups as. Nobody explicitly says that we're into digital marketing, but instead says that we're into storytelling. That's the difference, or that's the value addition that they're bringing in. So one, try and see it in more from delta, depth, and longevity purpose. Those are the 3 things on how any content that you create, if you can look at it from that perspective, it is more easier for you to calculate your ROI, it is more easier for you to calculate your return on acceptance also. So this is one that we would leave. And the last part of it is, again, having awareness and having a visibility, or leaving that appetite that there's always a set of community that is yet to be reached out to, will only help you to make your approach more innovative. So that is something that we would leave, that I would like to leave you all with, which is a question that I'm just posing out there. And great, thank you so much for this opportunity, EDAM. I think it's great for the fact that you're organizing this first social media summit, and well aware of the fact the audience that are out here, but great, all the best to all of you. Thank you so much for this.
But everything, generally what people do, there's a reason behind doing something. And we have this man over here, Prannay Kumar from TSIC, Telangana State Innovation Cell. Inta pedda rash pettindi dani kosame. Telangana State Innovation Cell. He represents the head partnership and the government innovation as a part of TSIC. And he gave us an insightful explanation of how is digital marketing and what's happening with the digital marketing world from the startup ecosystem and the innovation system and ecosystem and the company ecosystem. Thank you so much. It was really good. It was fantastic. And a small token of thanks from us.